Our major weapon of struggle against apartheid oppression and exploitation is our people organized into mass formation of the democratic movement.
Nelson Mandela was an anti-apartheid activist and the first black president of South Africa.
Hello and welcome to my channel Lagging Behind. Today we are going to start with a very important topic of class 10 CBSE English syllabus, that is Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. This is unit 2 and this is going to be a quick revision before your half-yearly examination. Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom is an autobiography written by Nelson Mandela himself. He was a very famous African leader who was jailed for a long time, just like Mahatma Gandhi. He followed Mahatma Gandhi and later on he went on to become president. So this story is on the day of his presidentship inauguration, and where he invite all the dignitaries from around the world to inaugurate his presidentship without any discrimination. Right, let us start this chapter. Before that, let us watch this interesting video of his.
Welcome to Sumit Sir's YouTube channel, Lagging Behind. And today he will speak about my struggle.
Before you read, we have seen what is apartheid system. It's a political system, just like racial discrimination. It's a law by the British people and the white people that have captured and colonized Africa to separate people according to their race. Here race means their ethnicity, their creed, caste. Basically what we have, the caste system in various parts of our country. So they used to separate people according to how they used to appear, look, race, ethnicity, right? Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. He was the first black president more than 3 centuries of white rule. Mr. Mandela's African National Congress Party won 252 out of 400 seats in the first democratic election. Democratic election. What is the meaning of democratic election? Democratic election means where all the people vote to elect their leader. So the inauguration ceremony took place in the Union Building Amphitheatre in Pretoria. Pretoria is a city where the inauguration means the starting of the event. Inauguration means the start of the event took place. Moving on to the text. Here it is said, 10th May dawned bright and clear. This means what is the date? That is 10th of May. Dawned. And it was bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respect before the inauguration. So he's telling that for a few days, people from all over the world are coming to pay respect to the inauguration ceremony. So the inauguration would be the largest gathering ever in international leaders on South African soil. So it was one of the largest gathering where people come together, and it was one of the very large, right? Now I will not read all the text, but the important one. So the inauguration took place in the sandstone amphitheater building. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy. Just like our country also has various colonial buildings, Supreme Court, or before the Parliament, which was first used by the British people. Now later on we have got that, inherited that, and make that a democratic society. Similarly, this building was used by the British white people. They have got it. The South African native indigenous black people have got this, and they are now making it a symbol of democracy. On the lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zenan. On the podium, Mr. de Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. So Mr. de Klerk was the first person to sworn in. What was he? He was second deputy president. Then after that, Thabo Mbeki was the first deputy president, and after that, he was the president. This is Nelson Mandela, and he was the president. Okay, we have got the second deputy president, first deputy president, and the president. So three of them were sworn in. So here he tells a very important line. This is very important for CBSE also. Today, all of us do hereby our presence here confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. What is newborn liberty? That just took place right now. The liberty that had taken place right now. Out of the experience of extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. This means out of all the bad experience, what happened when you have a lot of bad experience, like our freedom fighter, they were put into jail, they were tortured. Bhagat Singh, Subhash Chandra Bose, they were tortured, jailed. They had a lot of bad experience. So out of all this bad experience, what happened? They got to understand how extreme and torturous situation can be, and they became more tough. They became more determined to make this system good, not to inflict pain that they themselves have received, not to give pain to the others that they have received. So they got that character in themselves, and saying that all this human disaster have made a society which was very gentle, which they should be proud of. Then next paragraph you can read by yourself. Here talking about international guest for having come to take possession of people, and after all common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. So he is telling, so it's a common victory. It's victory for all. For what? For justice, for peace, and human dignity. So we have achieved our political emancipation, freedom from restriction. So before they were restricted, they were not allowed to execute, to carry out their political freedom, but now they are allowed to do so. He is telling the sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. So he's telling that it's a metaphorical line. This doesn't really mean that sun will never set. This means that like the sun is shining brightly, their achievement also will shine forever. And is it doing so? Yes. We are still reading about the struggle of South African people led by Nelson Mandela. So this is a metaphor. So these types of line are very important where there is a use of literary device, and mostly these types of line are taken and made question. Why he says that sun shall never set? He says because the achievement they have received, they have executed to carry out the democratic process will be shining bright and clear. Where did the ceremony take place? Can you name any public building in India that are made of sandstone? Yes, the ceremony took place in the sandstone amphitheater. Some places that are similar are like the Supreme Court, as I have said, and also the colonial buildings are such as the Parliament, which was before the new Parliament. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as spectacular array of South African jets, helicopter, and troops carries roared in a perfect formation over the Union Building. So you can see above the Union Building, jets and all the helicopters carrying troops are moving. It's showing the unity. It's showing the respect for the newly formed government. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of military's loyalty. So, military, the army, are loyal to the democratic elected government. to new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets before left a smoke trail, black, red, green, blue, gold of new South African flag. So a jet flew over, and there was this black, red, green, blue, and gold of new South African flag. So they basically have done the flag of South Africa. Another important line, which is important for CBSE, is that the day was symbolized for me by the playing of two national anthems. One is Nkosi Sikelel, Africa, and the black singing Die Stem. So Nelson Mandela did not discriminate. Both white and the black national anthem was kept. The old anthem of the Republic, although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know word by heart. On the day of inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. Why was he overwhelmed with a sense of history? He was overwhelmed, means he was very emotional with the sense of history, all the historical things that happened, means all the struggle. He was part of the revolution struggle that he, along with his comrades, along with his partner, have carried out. And he was really, really emotional by that. In the first decade of 20th century, a few years after bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their difference and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned people of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of the harshest and most inhuman society the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century, my own eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by the one that recognized the rights and freedom of all the people, regardless of their color and skin. So, talking about this apartheid system, which had been going on for long time. So the few years after the bitter and before my own birth as white skinned people patched. So he's telling that I am eighth decade. Eighth decade means he is 80 years old. And for 80 years, the system is continuing. That is before his birth, the system of apartheid is continuing. And now today, he is overturned the system. See, these are the people who was along with Nelson Mandela have worked hard to overturn the system of apartheid. The policy of apartheid created a deep lasting wound in my country and my people. So who are the people? Oliver Thambos, Walter Sisulu, Chief Luthulus, Yusuf Dados, Bram Fishers, Robert Sobuscus of our time, men of extraordinary courage. Perhaps it requires such depth of operation to create such height of character. This is very important. Why this is very important? He is telling perhaps, maybe that it requires such depth of operation, that such dire operation, such heinous, torturous operation to create height of character. A good heighted character, a good magnanimous character can only be created if that person is gone into the depth of operation. My country is rich in minerals and gems that lie beneath its soils, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is in its people, finer and truer than purest diamond. So he is telling, although there are minerals present beneath the soil, but the most precious stones are those which is above the soil. He's comparing precious things that his people are more precious than the materialistic things. It is from this comrade in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their life for an idea. So this is again important. This is again important. He is telling, I have learned the meaning of courage from my countrymen. And time and again, they have seen that they are giving their life. They're dying for an idea. Idea for what idea? Idea of freedom. Idea to free themselves from apartheid system. Next, he's telling no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background. So he's telling that when a person is born, he is not born hating another person, or the hatred and everything he's taught to learn after he grows up. Discrimination, division is only done after a person get his consciousness, and only after he understand the geopolitics around him. So he's telling that if someone can learn how to hate, why can't someone learn how to love each other? Even in the grimmest time in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. He is telling the guard used to torture us very much, but still we can see the humanity. He was not an animal. The guard, even though tortured us, but he also had a human soul in him. In life, every man has twin obligation. This twin obligation can be formed a question. What is twin obligation? One obligation. Obligation means responsibility. So in life, every man has two responsibility. One responsibility to his family and one responsibility to his people, to his community, his country. So one responsibility to his family and one responsibility to his country. So again, he's telling, but in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both this obligation. So he's telling that in South Africa, it is difficult for someone to fulfill both the obligations. Because in South Africa, a man tried to fulfill his duty to his people, was inevitably ripped from his family and his home, and was forced to live a life. So if he's telling, if someone is doing an obligation toward his country, he is working for his country, then what will he be done? He will be tortured. His family's obligation will be unfulfilled. He will be tortured and taken away from his family and put into jail. So he is telling that when Nelson Mandela tried to work for the freedom of his country, he was put into jail. His obligation for the family was left incomplete. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way. So he's telling that he was not born hunger to be free. He was free. He was not a person who was born and wanted to be free. He was born free. But later on, when restriction was imposed on him, he wanted to be free. He free to swim free in clear stream that runs through my village, free to roast melius under the stars and ride the broad backed slow moving pools. So he is giving the description of village where he was free to do everything. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. So all this village freedom was an illusion because he that time did not understand the true meaning of freedom. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedom of being able to stay out at night, read what I please, to go where I choose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedom of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having family, the freedom not to obstruct it in a lawful life. So he is telling that when I went to Johannesburg as a student, I understood that freedom to only roam around the village is not a freedom, but freedom to earn for myself, to have the self respect, the dignity, that was not given to me because I was not allowed to sit in the bus. I was not allowed to sit in the restaurant. I was not allowed to sit and go and attend the lectures of the university and everything that was available at that time. He was racially discriminated. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. He's telling his people around was also not free. So that is the idea. From that day onwards, he had firmly determined himself that he needs to free himself. It was this desire for freedom of my people to live their life with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that moved my life, that transformed and frightened young into a bold one. He said that by looking all this restriction, I started to moving myself, and that is when I, from a young and frightened boy, became a bold one that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal. He's telling, I became a criminal in front of the law. What law? That is the bad law. In front of the illegal process that is going on, I became a criminal. So he considered himself a criminal in front of a bad law. So bad thing, bad equals to good thing. He was actually doing a good thing, but in front of the bad law, he was seems to be a bad person that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a lifelong man to live like a monk. So he said that his twin obligation, that he had to leave his family and live like a monk and fight for his country. I knew that oppressor must be liberated as surely as the oppressed. This is very, very important line. He's telling a person who is oppressing other must also be liberated. This means a person who is torturing other should be should realize that he's doing the bad thing. So he is also not free. So both person who is being tortured should be free, and who is torturing also should be free. So the next time the torturing process does not happen. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a person of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I am not really free. I am not taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken away from me. The oppressed and the oppressor are alike, robbed of their humanity. So that's it. From Nelson Mandela, we have a lot of questions. Every year, one or two questions is there. So we have to read the lesson very carefully, underline every line, and try to memorize this question. What is twin obligation? Twin obligation, one obligation towards his family, one obligation towards his country. डज मंडेला थिंक ऑपरेसर इज फ्री व्हाई नॉट ऑपरेसर मीन्स जो टॉर्चर करता है जो लोगों को टॉर्चर करता है वो क्या वो फ्री है नहीं वो भी फ्री नहीं है क्योंकि वो इल्यूजन में रहता है जो ऑपरेसर है जो टॉर्चर करता है दूसरों के ऊपर वो भी फ्री नहीं है बिकॉज ही इज प्रिजनर ऑफ हेट्रेट ही इज इम्प्रिजन बाय हेट्रेट हेट्रेट कौन अगर कोई तुम्हें टॉर्चर करेगा ऑब्वियसली यू विल हेट दैट पर्सन एंड अ पर्सन हु इज हेटेड कैनॉट मूव फ्रीली right all these questions answers will be provided in the link description. Thank you. All the best.